So who would like to start reading now today? Page number 252.
Which paragraph are we supposed to
I
read,
can-
Prabhu?
Yeah, so Induradika Mataji says she can read also.
Yes.
Yeah, so Mataji can read. You have the first.
Page 252 from starting, Prabhuji.
1 second, Mataji. Actually, no, we did for 252 and all. Mataji, we were Chitra Mataji, we were discussing about.
254, I think it was
Yeah, we
254,
should
Prabhu.
start with the laying foundations. The
Okay.
254 laying foundations. Yeah. So Indu Mataji, you can read from there.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. I'm reading.
Okay,
Hare
Pranam
Krishna.
Vasana, from there,
Pranam,
yes.
Dandavat to all, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Laying foundations. April 1 was Ram Navami, the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra. On his morning walk, Prabhupada noted that many people were bathing in the sea, and he inquired, because today is Ram Navami, they are taking bath. Dr. Patel said yes, and towards the end of the walk, he raised the topic of fasting for Ram Navami, suggesting that one should fast throughout the night until the following morning. A devotee volunteered that he fasted until sunset. Prabhupada agreed but added, if one can continue until the next morning, that's all right. Later, I asked Prabhupada when we should actually break the fast, and he replied that I should inquire when the local temples broke theirs and then follow their standard. It turned out that they broke their fast at noon, so that day we did too. Prabhupada marked the occasion of Ram Navami by again laying the cornerstone for the Juhu temple. After so many delays and complications, he wanted to reaffirm his intention to build the temple. At the ceremony, he said, on this auspicious day of the appearance of Lord Ramachandra, we are taking this opportunity for the foundation
1 minute.
stone.
1 minute,
Yes,
Mataji.
Yes,
Sorry.
No
Chitra
problem.
Mataji, have we not read these places? Because the next page itself, that Shankar Prabhu is asking what to do, and Prabhupada is saying every square inch you should plant the flowers for this thing.
Prabhuji, I have not attended last
Oh,
two sessions, so I don't know.
Piyush Prabhu,
Tell
you
me.
must be able to tell. Anand Saki Mataji also was there. Sorry, Indu Mataji. I think it's 1 week since we thing. So I think in page number 259 also, Prabhupada is telling about Giriraj Maharaj being very simple. Then even the DT names is all done. Tamal Krishna Maharaj talks about the dream in the operation, that is in 61 page number. Yeah, 3 days after the operation. So that up to the dream we read, I think.
Yes, okay. 262
Yeah.
page.
So
62.
Prayojana, no, not the Prayojana, the whole. After that also, if you come down, Prabhupada smiled and nodded in approval. Actually, he said this is a fact. At the beginning of page number 262.
Okay, Prabhupada smiled and nodded in approval. Actually, he said, this is a fact.
Yeah.
Yes,
So Tamal Krishna Maharaj has a dream that because he was going through the hernia operation, Prabhupada was trying his best to stop him from going through the operation, but it was already done by the time he reaches.
correct.
Then Maharaj tells that in the dream I saw you were giving a progress report to your all the previous acharyas, and you said that nobody is qualified, but they have only thing is that they somehow or other they have been able to take shelter of my lotus feet. So whatever I say, they accept, and is this that is the only qualification they have. So then Prabhupada smiles, and actually this is a fact, he says. So from here on, you can read Mataji. This 3 days after the operation.
Yes, okay, Prabhuji. 3 days after the operation, the hospital decided that Tamal Krishna could be discharged. But Tamal Krishna was adamant that he needed extra rest. No, he said, I am not leaving. And he stayed a few extra days before returning to Juhu. There he lived in the Chatai hut. in a tin room that had been used to store books. Devotees brought in a hospital bed and he got proper prasada and personal care while he convalesced.
So why would he want to adamant to stay there to take some extra rest?
Because he should be ready and to come and do seva. Otherwise,
that is one reason, of course, but he could have always taken that rest in the temple, no? Because actually Maharaj wanted to spend his time there reading Prabhupada's books. Otherwise, he never gets a chance to read at all. He's always busy with administrative things. That he somehow felt that only time he can meditate on Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
So that is the actual reason.
Okay.
Please continue, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhupada came to visit every morning after his walk, sitting in a metal folding chair by Tamal Krishna's side for 5 or 10 minutes and encouraging him before returning to his quarters. I had enjoyed good health in India, Tamal Krishna later recalled, and to be suddenly bedridden allowed me a lot of time to think. Vishnu Jana had come and gone before the operation, and the effect of his association in India was really on my mind. Soon he regained just enough strength to crawl into someone's back and be carried to Prabhupada's room. When he was let down, he flopped over weakly and in pain. Still, he offered obeisances. Why did you come up? Prabhupada asked. You didn't have to. I didn't want you to keep coming to me, Tamal replied. Anything to discuss?
See, this is so sweet of an exchange between a guru and disciple. That Prabhupada, in spite of all his various responsibilities, every day he would go and meet Tamal Krishna Maharaj in his room because he cannot get up and walk, Even now with all the modern facilities, this hernia operation is not an easy thing. It can take our energy out and can really put our normal life into disarray. But those days it was even more difficult. And so Prabhupada was so concerned about Tamal Krishna Maharaj that every day he would go to meet him. But Tamal Krishna Maharaj felt very embarrassed of being for pushing his guru to come and this it's not a very good thing to do, like to see from. So I'm sorry to say this, just to break. Piyush Prabhu is reminding us that today is the disappearance day of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So we relish this pastime more. Yeah, thank you for reminding that, Prabhuji. It's really not a coincidence that we are discussing about one of the great warriors of our movement. I would rather say commander in chief, one of the commanders in chiefs of Prabhupada's movement, Prabhupada Sena. He is such an amazing disciple for Prabhupada that anything that is very difficult to do, Prabhupada would immediately turn to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So there are a few things where he himself says slipped and all that, but then these are expected from disciples who are coming from the foreign countries and not used to the Indian style of operations and all that, right? So that's why we should really appreciate the sincerity and dedication and surrender of all these wonderful disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever shortcomings they may have, they were all rectified by that simple act of surrender. And they give the inspiration to us as to how to serve spiritual master and acharya. Thank you so much, Piyush Prabhu, for reminding us of Tamal Krishna Maharaj's disappearance day. Had so many nice, wonderful pastimes with Prabhupada. And for me personally, in my beginning days in Krishna consciousness, it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj's books on Prabhupada that really helped me. That really inspired me. Whenever I used to stay alone in US before marriage, I used to stay alone in very lonely places. So those days, the books which I read were, I don't know if they are in print even now, Servant of the Servant, TKG Diary, Then he has written a beautiful small book called Jagannatha Priyanatakam. That's a beautiful book also. I read that. And I would love to read all these books in my lonely times. And especially that Servant of the Servant, which was interspersed with all the letters that Prabhupada wrote to him personally. They were really amazing books. And those were the initial trigger for me for the inspiration for me in my initial days. So really, I am glad that we are discussing about his pastime on the day of his disappearance day. Okay, so this is the reason why he was somehow or other he wanted one of the devotees to take him to Prabhupada's room and offer obeisance to him instead of letting Prabhupada come every time. That's such a nice, sweet mood of exchange between the disciple and the guru. So please continue reading, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Srila
Why did you
Prabhupada,
come up?
yes, yes, Prabhuji. Well, I can probably this one only, Srila Prabhupada. Anything to discuss?
Why did you come up? Prabhupada asked. You didn't have to.
Correct. Yeah. You didn't have to, and I didn't want you to keep coming to me. Tamal replied. Anything to discuss? Srila Prabhupada, Tamal blurted out. I was thinking that maybe I should go back to America for some time. Prabhupada was thoughtful. Why? Well, I can probably quote half of the Bombay municipal codes, but I can't quote nearly as many verses of the Bhagavad Gita.
This is such a very sweet way of telling this thing. Because he was moving about so much with this Juhu government related things. So he said, I quote half of Bombay municipal code, pin codes basically. But I can't quote nearly as many verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, that's not very good. What will you do? I can preach there. I am a sannyasi. I have been managing too much. This Bombay case has taken so much effort. We have been in lawyers' offices and have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours like that. I think I need a change. Actually, he had been considering this since he had met up with Vishnu Jana in India, and Vishnu Jana had told him how great the preaching was in America. Vishnu Jana had suggested that they go traveling together in a bus, holding festivals, distributing books, and recruiting devotees.
This
The idea was
this is the idea of the birth of Radha Damodar Traveling Sankirtan Party. That's the 3 or 4 years of that. I would say 5 years before until Prabhupada left. Also, it was all going on. One bus became 3, 3 became 5, 5 became 10, 10 became 20. It was like literally wildfire happened when this whole traveling Sankirtan party after the birth of the traveling Sankirtan party in the movement. So that is a totally another beautiful book called Radha Damodar Vilas. It was written by Vyasaki Prabhu. That is an amazing book. Again, highlighting on that particular aspect of our movement, where this traveling Sankirtan party buses started moving everywhere. It contains a lot of wonderful recollections and memories of devotees. You can see how many books they can write more and more and more. Unlimited number of books, That is the beauty of pure devotion. There is no limits at all. So such an amazing thing that I just wanted to give you a little heads up about this thing, what is happening, because we are focusing only from a Bombay perspective here in this book. But while things are moving in Bombay, there are so many things that are moving in parallel in so many different places. There were Rath Yatras happening in Melbourne, Sydney and all. There were things growing in the Africa continent. Then in South America, again, Brazil, Argentina, and all these places, there things were growing big. Canada, America, wildfire is going on. Europe has its own wonderful wildfires going on. Not only UK, but even all other places like France, Germany, Switzerland, then Hungary, then Spain, Portugal, whatever country you name it, every country had something or other which was moving like wildfire. So all these things also come like a touch and go things, when devotees. And on top of it, Mayapur Prabhupada is constructing the Chandrodaya Mandir. So Jayapatak Maharaj and others are taking care of that. Delhi, there's a huge preaching pandal, everything is going on. All over India, so many things are going on. This, especially this 70 to 77, no? That's the period you will have complete action. Complete action means not a single day you can miss out. In a single day, 15 different beautiful things would come up. Yeah, I mean, yeah, miraculous things would come up in different places. So that's how wonderful these days, those days are to write more and more. So please read further, Mataji.
The idea was appealing, and the period of Tamal Krishna's recuperation served to increase his desire. The illness gave me an opportunity to drink deeply from Srila Prabhupada's books, he remembered, something I had rarely found time to do at any length since coming to India. This
So you
only
remember, I told you that why he insisted on staying back in the hospital. This is the thing. He was able to go deeper into Prabhupada's books. Please continue.
Yes. Yes, sir. This only served, however, to increase my hankering for preaching. Vishnu Jana's visit had stirred remembrances of our friendship.
So those
And
who may not know, Vishnu Jana Maharaj and Tamal Krishna Maharaj were the ones who came together as hippies to meet Prabhupada, meet the devotees and Prabhupada in the Haight Ashbury, if I'm not wrong, the West Coast area, where Prabhupada was starting in a very humble way. And they both were friends even before coming to Krishna consciousness. And after coming to Krishna consciousness, they both took it like horses to water or fishes to water. Like really, they were so naturally they took it up that on the one side, Tamal Krishna Maharaj had such wonderful managing and administrative ability. And the other side, Vishnu Jana Maharaj is such a wonderful Kirtaniya that both of them served the wonderful purpose of Srila Prabhupada. That one side he would do amazing preaching and kirtans, Vishnu Jana Maharaj. On the other side, Tamal Krishna Maharaj would also preach wonderfully, and but at the same time, his area of expertise is management. He would manage people to come together and get things done. And so these both are really it goes hand in. Even now, if you see in our movement, these two things actually go hand in hand. With only one, it is difficult to do and achieve anything. If you have only management administration, then the temple will become weak without weak without proper preaching. If you have preaching but not a proper organized way of functioning, then things can become haywire and stop very soon. So organized effort is very much required in anything where systematic organized effort is being handled. It will be successful. Prabhupada always said that. In the way the earth functions, everything is happening on time. Sun rises on time, moon comes on time, and the seasons come on time. The day and night comes on time. Everything comes on time, happens on time. And similarly, if we also organize ourselves in such a way that we do everything on time, then Krishna's mercy, everything will go very nicely. So that is the interesting thing that we should know about how Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu Jana Maharaj they came together. I think they were brought by Krishna together in association of devotees and Srila Prabhupada. And till now, their Vishnu Jana Maharaj Kirtans are so wonderful. All over the world, it is famous. He would do with so much passion, with so much love and dedication to Prabhupada. Same way, Tamal Krishna Maharaj's management is so famous. So we'll continue here on. So
Yes,
this is the beautiful thing we should understand in devotional service also, we will have some heartfelt relationships. Who we may have that heart-to-heart relationship with somebody. We may not be able to have it with everybody, but with somebody we may have, whatever reason that may be. Maybe because it is coming from the past life. The first time we meet itself, we feel so much, feeling like connecting with them, some long-term connection. It may feel like that. So that is all Krishna's arrangement. So that, especially when our friendship comes and culminates in Krishna consciousness, that is a perfection of that friendship. So, and that way, both of them, Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu Jana Maharaj, are completely blessed by Prabhupada and his movement. Please continue, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. I'm out of here, he told Drishtadumna. But Prabhupada will never let me go. He knew that Prabhupada didn't. Able to hear me, Prabhuji?
Yeah, no, I just smiled at this, that
Okay.
Prabhupada will never let me go. Because
Yeah.
this is actually Tamal Krishna Maharaj confiding with Drishtadumna Prabhu. I want to go out of here, but Prabhupada will never let me go because he didn't want his GBC representatives to leave their posts. So, especially with India, he was finding it difficult to have a good leader who can maneuver through the Indian bureaucracy, governmental bureaucracy, So anyway, you please. So anyway, he was thinking that okay, let me give it a try. Please read further, Mataji.
Prabhupada considered this a serious matter. Tamal Krishna was his GBC for India, and great progress had been made in the 4 years he had held that position. Prabhupada was aware how austere serving in India could be for his Western students. Yet, without them, it would not be possible to develop Lord Chaitanya's mission in the subcontinent. Before going to America, he had tried but without success. Now that he had positive results, he was reluctant to change course and kept a tight rein on his disciples' movements. Tamal Krishna was an authority figure, and anything he did would set a precedent. If he left India, others might follow. Still, Prabhupada, yeah.
See, so many complicated things arise, when the movement is spreading so fast, fire, like a fire. Prabhupada had to think of so many things. Kamal Krishna Maharaj at least wants to only go from India to the US. But there are some leaders who were saying, Prabhupada, I cannot continue. I want to live alone. I don't want to please relieve me of the responsibilities. Responsibilities were not an ordinary things those days. They had to literally manage everything on their own. Mangalarti to deity dressing to managing to distributing books to attending GBC meetings, everything they will have to do. GBC meeting does not mean that they will not do all these other things. So that is very, very challenging to do. But because of their love for Prabhupada, they could do all these things without any complaint. Please continue, Mataji.
Still, Prabhupada did not make an immediate decision. Tamal Krishna spoke with him several times about the proposal, and finally, after a few days, although he had at first been reluctant, Prabhupada concluded that a brief change might be beneficial. Yes, he said, we can always pay a manager, but preaching is a matter of realization. He stressed how important preaching was to the movement. Without it, he said, ISKCON will become rubbish. The management will be at our fingertips. If the devotees simply follow the rules, chant and take prasad, preaching is first.
See, this is a very interesting passage of thing that Maharaj is writing these lines beautifully. Giriraj Maharaj is writing this beautifully. That without preaching, ISKCON will become rubbish. The management can be done, that it can be learned, but preaching is something which comes from our heart. That's why Vishnu Chana Maharaj was a wonderful, wonderful preacher. When he preached, so many thousands of devotees in the movement in those days in the 70s, they were all saying that we came because of Vishnu Jana, came because of Vishnu Jana. So preaching, even now, this is a beautiful point. While both of them are equally important, uh, even without management, without a very strict management, with preaching alone, things can fall in place. With basic management can be done by anybody. But preaching, if it is not pure, as I told again and again, that we are running after the popularity even while in preaching. But Prabhupada's time, it was all wonderfully going like wildfire because purity was there, not about popularity. Nobody were worried about the popularity. Everybody was worried about the purity of the preaching. And everybody followed Prabhupada's mood and that compassion. Karunaya aha purana guhyam. That is very important. So that is where Prabhupada's ultimately he said that if nothing works, at least do preaching. That is the his main thing. Anybody with life can preach, would say. That is the Prabhupada's thing. Anyone else would like to take over from here? Next paragraph. Hare
Can I,
Krishna.
Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, Sitra Mataji, go ahead.
Prabhupada told Tamal about how he too had left home to preach. I was always thinking how I could benefit everyone. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Sarva Bhutanam, unless one has come to this realization, how can he be representative of God? I never had any national or
See,
human.
this is which realization he is talking about? Which realization he is talking about? Unless one has come. No, Suhrudam Sarva Bhutan. Not simply Sarva Bhutanam. Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. Prabhupada is saying, I was always thinking how I could benefit everyone. We have to come to this thing that we have to benefit everybody, not just some certain class of people alone or society alone. That will not help our this mission at all. This movement became successful because of this one thing, Suhrudam Sarva Bhutana. Prabhupada wanted to give this to everybody. Please continue, Mataji. You will understand even more.
Yeah. I never had any national or humanitarian concerns, but concern for all living entities. Even at home, as a householder, I was preaching and people were coming. But my family members were upstairs taking tea. I was very angry with them. I told my wife, either you give up tea or lose your husband. She thought I was joking, but I was determined and took sannyas. The family took it as a great shock, but now I am fully satisfied. Yeah. Mm. It was our good fortune that you had this disagreement with your wife and that she chose tea instead of you, Tamal said, because now we are all saved. Hari Bol. Go and preach and remain active, Prabhupada said. And when you are old enough, you can go and sit down in Mayapur and simply chant Hare Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada, Tamal said, what does old enough mean? That has to be judged by the individual. As for myself, I am not so old.
This is Prabhupada is telling. So at that time was what, 73? So Prabhupada was already 77 years old at that time. And Prabhupada didn't find himself to be old. It means he was always active. That's why he's saying, be active. It's a beautiful thing. Go and preach and remain active. It's a very important thing. Remaining active, not just in a bodily point of view, but even in Krishna consciousness. As a human being, we have to be very active. Only then, if you are mentally active, then automatically we will be physically active as well. An active body will not have any unnecessary sickness. Nice point. What does old enough mean? Just has to be judged by the individual. As for myself, I'm not so old. Please continue, Mataji.
Then said Satswarupa, who was sitting with them, we also will follow your example and never say that we are old enough to stop preaching. Prabhupada called me to his room to give me his blessings and final direction. Tamal Krishna later recalled, because we would be separated for some time, now that I would be outside of India, his instructions to me were surprisingly simple. Learn from Vishnu Jana how to perform traveling Sankirtan from city to city, then take a van with some brahmacharis, travel and distribute books.
So this is the instruction about traveling Sankirtan party thing. Please continue, Mataji.
On April 18, Prabhupada left Bombay for Hyderabad, and there too he spoke about the police commissioner's statement. In Bombay, our temple construction has been refused by the commissioner of police. Why? Because we chant Hare Krishna. They have openly written that bhajan is a nuisance. You see, this is our position. Krishna Bhagwan says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam. This bhajana word is there. Four kinds of people engage in bhajana. Who are they? Sukriton, Sukrito, Sukru, Sukritino, Arjuna, those who are pious. And now bhajana is a nuisance. The Vedic scripture says that bhajana is performed by pious men, and now bhajana is a nuisance. Sutatam kirtayanto mam yata tascha dharata vrata. These are the statements of Vedic scriptures. Who is a Mahatma? Mahatma, Mahat,
Hmm.
Mahatmanas, Mahatmanas tu mam pratha daivam
Partha,
prakritim partha
Partha, Daivim
daivam
Prakritim Ashritaha.
sthitah. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas cha drahata vrata. These are Mahatmas, Nitya Yuktas Upasate. But at the present moment, not at the present moment, from the time immemorable, uh, this has been going on. As soon as you become a devotee, as soon as you are inclined to take part in bhajan, you will have no so many enemies. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that you tolerate. You cannot give up your bhajana and kirtan consciousness, Krishna consciousness. That is not possible. Tolerate. Trinadapi. What is the process of toleration? Trinadapi sunichena taroropi asahishnanam amananiya manadena kirtaniya sadahari. CC Adi 17.31. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not accept personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respects to others, can very easily always chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Please continue, Mataji.
Somebody else would like to read?
Yeah. Anybody else would like to take over? Who else want to take over? Chitra Mataji.
Okay, then I'll continue.
You continue, Mataji.
After 10 days in Hyderabad and Tirupati, Prabhupada returned to Bombay. On his first morning walk, he explained why he felt that in pursuance of Krishna's mission, it was his duty to expose false Swami, yogis, sadhus, and all sort of other religious and political so-called leaders. I had read aloud from Krishna book that Krishna had advented himself just to kill all undesirable elements in the world. And Prabhupada responded, yes, similarly, this movement is advented to kill all the so-called yogis, swamis, avtaras, philosophers, commentators, rascals. We have no we have to kill them. Kill means vanquish all these rascals, so-called swamis. People challenge me. Why do you criticize others? Because we have to vanquish them. Now, these people cannot come up. When there is a sunrise, there is no use of these glowworms. This Krishna conscious movement is Krishna himself. Therefore, they must be finished all over the world. The so called religionists, so called philosophers, so called avtaras, swamis, and yogis. Finished. Our program should be like that. When Krishna has confronted that the Kaliya demon I had read, his devotees, the Vrajavasis, had felt transcendental anxieties. Does the sentiments of anxiety or fear for Krishna's welfare exist in the spiritual world in Goloka? I asked. Yes, Prabhupada explained. That is separation. The gopis are full of anxiety. Oh, Krishna has gone to the pasturing ground. Their anxiety is there. Rukmani was thinking, oh, Krishna may give me up. He is talking in this way. She fainted. So, anxiety is there. The anxiety that one may be separated from Krishna. That is the anxiety. Actually, there is no separation, only the feeling of separation out of ecstatic love. One who has got love for another person, beloved, always thinks my beloved may not be separated from me. This is the ecstasy of love. Just like a miser who has much wealth always thinks, my money may not be lost. My money may not be lost. Out of this, out of his excessive attachment for the money, he thinks like that. How shall I protect this money? To earn money is troublesome. This is the position. But with Krishna, there is no such thing as loss.
Beautiful thing, huh? So can anyone else take over from here, from Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Shall I, Prabhu?
Please, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, from which line I have to start, Prabhuji?
And the topic turned to devotee sufferings.
The topic turned to devotees' sufferings. Oh Lord, 1 minute, Prabhu. Oh Lord, I read you have descended especially for the purpose of annihilating all kinds of disturbing elements within the world, and because you are the absolute truth, there is no difference between your mercy and punishment. The surgical operation is there. Prabhupada explained the knife is being used on the patient's body, but that means that he is getting relief. It is not the punishment. Is that benefit coming in all suffering? I asked, or only when it is given by Krishna. When there is suffering given by Krishna, therefore, a devotee does not take suffering seriously. Tatte tatte anukampam sushmika shamanaha. A devotee thinks that uh, it is a favor of Krishna that he has been put into the suffering. They never see suffering as suffering. It is Krishna's favor. That is a devotee's vision. It is exactly like a son who knows his father well. If the father slaps the son never protest. He know that it's good for me. Similarly, a devotee never is disturbed when there is suffering given in by Krishna. A karmi suffering is just like the laws of the karmi is different. He is suffering like a criminal is suffering. A criminal is given a slap by the police, but that slap and the father's slap are different. Although they look the same, there is a great difference. So there is no benefit to suffering unless it is connected with Krishna. Satsvarupa asked. Yes, therefore, we should fully surrender to Krishna. As Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Marobi Rakhobi Ya Ichha Tohara. Now I surrender.
So there's a
Now
very interesting point. Satsvarup Maharaj question. It's a beautiful question. Can you read that again, Mataji? Just before, page before. So there is
Yeah.
no benefit to suffering unless it is connected to Krishna. A beautiful, beautiful point.
So there is no benefit to suffering unless it is connected to Krishna. Satsvarup Maharaj asked. Yes,
So
therefore
my question is, what is the important point there? There's no benefit to suffering unless it is connected with Krishna. Prabhupada is giving very beautifully the crystal clear difference between a karmi suffering and a devotee suffering. So what is that main difference there?
The devotee is actually taking all pains and troubles for Krishna and to preach for Krishna consciousness.
No,
Whereas
preaching,
karmi
we are
is
not
going
talking
on
about preaching here, we are talking about suffering.
Prabhu, in this way, because the sufferings, because he has already surrendered to Lord Krishna, the suffering is means it might be a very big suffering, but when he surrenders to Krishna, it will come to a small extent. And devotees think that that suffering is also a gift of Lord Krishna.
Why it becomes small? Actually, that becoming small itself only is in the mind. The actual problem is in the same only.
Because they're connected to Krishna.
Yes, that when you see Krishna in that, you don't feel the same pain as a karmi would do. So instead of seeing it as a pain, it's actually more relishable because Krishna is there. So what Maharaj is asking is a very beautiful question. So there is no benefit to suffering unless it is connected with Krishna? Yes. This question is very beautiful question. Yes, that is Prabhupada saying that's why there should be fully surrendered to Krishna. So the moment you surrender to Krishna, then that suffering also gives you benefit. What is that benefit?
Krishna
That
takes charge of it.
suffering brings you closer to Krishna. It reminds you of Krishna.
Krishna takes charge of it. So
Krishna takes charge of it the moment we see him there.
Yeah, Prabhu, what you said is a condition actually. If you see Krishna, then the suffering is.
Yeah, the
Krishna is.
moment you see Krishna in there is no more suffering there.
Mhm.
You don't see it as a suffering anymore.
Yeah, if you see as a suffering, that means it's a karmi realization.
Exactly. So that is where when you stop seeing Krishna there, you feel more the suffering there. If you see it as a Krishna's way of purifying us, then that same hurdle or the disturbance will become a favorable thing for us. Unfavorable thing will become favorable for us. And Krishna will use us to do many things which we would not have normally done also. This question is something very beautiful. There is no benefit to suffering unless it is connected with Krishna. Yes, when the person is not connecting his suffering with Krishna, then he will only suffer. And so what will happen? During the suffering, because he is not connected with Krishna, he will do more pratikriya, counteraction. He will try to counteract the problem by, say, somewhere he is having some problem with financially, he will lend from somewhere, and that will add more problem to his head. Or if he is having health issues, he will go to all kinds of hospitals to get it fixed. Everywhere he tries different tablet, surgery, this, that, etc. He will be more and more suffering because of that. So the more and more we see Krishna, the less and less pratikriya we do to that situation. The less pratikriya you do to that situation, the less entangled you will be in it. In other words, that you will patiently tolerate that pain and continue your seva. And by patiently tolerating it, you will not create more karmas out of it. More karmas means more body, basically. That is why benefit to suffering is there only when it is connected with Krishna. Otherwise, it is of no use. Any questions or
Yes,
points
sir.
to?
See, Prabhuji, another one devotee looks at it as if this suffering is given for the devotee to come closer to Krishna. There's one way of talking to us.
That is how he is seeing Krishna in that suffering.
Mhm.
That is how he sees Krishna in that suffering. Maybe Krishna wants me to come closer to him.
Mhm.
Right? Nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. So, shall we read further if there is Subhashini Mataji?
okay. Now, if you want to maintain me, that is all right. And if you want to kill me, that is also all right. This is surrender. It is not business. If you maintain me, then I surrender. If you kill me, then I do not. It is not like that. Marabi, Rakhabi.
Marobi Rakobi Jo Icha Tomahara.
Now, as you like, if you want, if you want, like, you want to maintain me, that is good. If you want to kill me, that is also good. And that is a devotee's view. Hearing Prabhupada's words, I felt chastened that my own lack of surrender was being exposed. Satswarup brought up that someone might say, but if one is surrendered, why should Krishna give him trouble? Yes, Prabhupada said, because he is always free. Why do you mm, make Krishna dependent on your so-called goodwill? That Krishna must always give me pleasure. This is
See
the sense that
how beautifully Prabhupada is answering this question. See, these are the questions which really throw so much light. These are questions which we ask also day in and day out, isn't it? But if one is surrendered, why should Krishna give him trouble? This is a beautiful question. We have to really thank to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Satswarup Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, and all the wonderful disciples of Prabhupada, because it is because of their questions that we are able to see the answers, the greatness of Prabhupada's answers here. So here, Prabhupada is still emphasizing this fact that Krishna is Abhijna and Swarat, completely independent. So you cannot force Krishna saying, now that I have surrendered to you, come on, you have to give me bliss, give me this, give me that. No, he is not our order supplier again. Your devotion means accepting whatever Krishna does as his mercy, that's all. Such an amazing answer Papa is giving. Please read, Mataji.
This is sense gratification, and that you approach Krishna for your comfort. That is not bhakti. That is so sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj was given suffering by his father so harshly, but he never said, "Oh, I am a devotee of Krishna, and he is giving me so much trouble. Oh, give it." He never said that. Never he said Krishna to come and save him. The Pandavas were always with Krishna, and they were suffering. They never asked Krishna, "You are the supreme, so why are we suffering?" They never said. This is Krishna's bhakti, because you are the absolute truth. There is no difference between mm, the between your mercy and punishment. I repeated. Yes, this is to be understood. If we understand the supreme personality of Godhead, absolute truth, then this is the understanding. Then this is the understanding for, that either suffering or enjoying, it is all Krishna's mercy. There must be some purpose. When Krishna puts me into suffering, there must be some purpose. So we should welcome it, because it is Krishna's mercy. Tatte anukampam susham shamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. I I should have been suffering more for my deeds. It is Krishna's mercy that he is reforming me with only slight suffering. I would have suffered very greatly on account of my past deeds, but he is kindly accommodating me by giving little suffering. That is all. I felt humbled. I realized how far I had to go to reach the stage of full surrender of pure devotional service. Yet I also felt grateful that I was under the merciful protection of Krishna and his most merciful representative, Srila Prabhupada.
Hey, thank you so much, Mataji. Such a wonderful realization here, huh? With nice conversation. These conversations are also recorded. Anybody would like to go through these things, to really feel very much connected with it, especially these beautiful conversations. Um, Anyone else would like to take over from Mataji? Page number 268. Ramsudha Prabhu, I don't know why you are quiet. You read nicely. Okay, I will read.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
You will read from online or you have the book, Mataji?
I don't have the book, Prabhuji.
Okay, you read from online, it's on the screen.
Things had quieted down in Juhu, and every night I visited Prabhupada in his quarters, reported on my activities, and received his instructions, the high point of my days. Flushed with enthusiasm one evening after a day of meeting people in Bombay, I told him, I like preaching very much. Not I like preaching, Prabhupada replied, but preaching is my life.
Because when I say I like preaching also, sometimes it can get into sense gratification mode. So Prabhupada is correcting it. We are not preaching for our own liking or disliking. So actually, this is our life. Means, I remember my Guru Maharaj told me this once. And how important is your breathing? He asked. Very important, Maharaj, I said. How important? You have to breathe every moment, Maharaj. If I don't breathe, I will die. So then Maharaj said, but Bhagavatam is even more important than breathing. You can forget to breathe, but you should not forget to study Bhagavatam, he said. So that is to the extent which Prabhupada was giving his importance to the preaching. When he say preaching is my life, then which means that without preaching, I will not survive. Without life, I cannot survive in this body. Same way, without preaching, I cannot survive. That's what it means actually. Preaching, we don't do it for sense gratification, but to be alive in Krishna consciousness. Just like breathing is required to keep alive in this world, preaching is required to be alive in Krishna consciousness. That preaching does not mean only to preach to 100 people, 200 people like that. No, that is wrong, wrong conception. Preaching to the mind, it starts with the preaching to the mind. Every day when we read Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, we are preaching to the mind. Every day we are chanting, we are preaching to the mind. So that is what Prabhupada is telling. So to begin with, once you start preaching to the mind, naturally it will go in that right direction of preaching to others also out of compassion. Karunaya. Okay, please continue reading, Mataji.
Another evening, after a long day in the city, having as usual traveled there and back in the crowded trains and to and from the train station in a crowded bus, and not having had anything to eat since morning, I staggered up to Prabhupada's room, exhausted. Prabhupada looked at me and asked, "How are you feeling?" Only then did I notice how weak and sick I was. "Well, frankly speaking, Srila Prabhupada," I replied, "I feel a little tired." He already knew and he immediately ordered grapes for me. He said that they were very good for strength and energy. Then he insisted that I eat the grapes in his presence, and after a minute or two, he asked if I was feeling stronger. And yes, I was. To work very hard for Krishna for 2 days, he concluded, and then to recuperate for 3 days, that is not a very good proposal.
So what does that mean?
We should be regular. We shouldn't be off and on, off and on.
Yeah, you should. It's not that you starve and keep preaching, running around here and there, forget about the whole thing, and then spoil your health that way. No, Prabhupada is saying that that is out of passion when we are doing like that. But normally, when you take proper food, morning you do your chanting, reading proper food. Then after that, you go for your preaching or other activities, meeting life members or whatever. Then you come back, have a nice prasadam in the evening. Then your health will be kept all right for a sufficiently longer period. But if you without food you run around for 2 days and then come back and you feel hungry and then you want to eat, then you lie down and rest, that will not work. That will not work in the long run. Because we'll always be in a catching up mode with our health. Hmm?
Another time, he encouraged me to dress better. He told me there is a saying, one who is known as a Brahmin doesn't have to wear a thread. People know you and they also like you, but still you should dress more nicely. I never knew when he would give me an instruction, and whenever he did, I concentrated with my full attention and tried to commit to memory everything he said. But my method, he could see, wasn't the most reliable. To remember, he emphasized, means to remember to write it down. He added, "You should always carry a pen and paper," and then told me something else that he wanted me to remember. Prabhupada knew my mind.
So this is a very interesting thing. Our spiritual master Mahavishnu Maharaj also would always say that a devotee without a pen and a notebook is like a barber without a knife and a shaving kit. His business will not run. For devotees also, his business will run only when he has his pen and the notebook with him always. So even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also used to always insist that his disciples carry notebook and pen with them. When you will be giving class, he would say so many things which are really not of this world. It's coming directly from Golok Vrindavan. And he would suddenly say, "Catch Krishna there, catch Krishna. Have you caught Krishna there?" What I was speaking, you should write down, and that is how you should catch Krishna. So this writing down thing is a very, very important thing that all our acharyas emphasized upon. Please continue, Mataji.
Prabhupada knew my mind. I was always attracted to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and I imagined that one day I would be like them, roaming the forests of Vrindavan, chanting Krishna, Krishna. But he was also concerned that his property be managed properly, and one evening he spoke to me about it. Raghunatha Dasa managed his father's estate just like an expert businessman, he told me. Similarly, you should also manage your father's estate. Then you go to Vrindavan and become a Goswami.
So Giriraj Maharaj hasn't conveyed this to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada knew what was in his mind. So that is why he gives this beautiful example of Raghunath Das Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also told him that you don't come now. You follow all the things that your parents want. Then the day will come when you can naturally come. So sweet of Prabhupada to say that you manage your father's estate. Actually, Giriraj Maharaj had so much of estate of his own father also. But Prabhupada is referring to himself here as the father. Oh, sweet of him. Please continue.
Another night, he explained to me the purpose of Gurukula in Krishna conscious children's education. We cannot expect that many of the students will stay in the temple, he said, but they should be trained so nicely that no matter what they do later in life, they will never forget Krishna. Then he told how he and his sister used to fly kites and pray to God to make their kites fly higher. They should be trained in such a nice way that no matter what they do in life, they will never forget God.
Very interesting. How small things also Prabhupada is giving so many instructions as he. The only pity is that he stayed with us only for that last those 10, 11 years. If only he had lived for another 20 years, there's so much more he could have given. So much more the movement would have spread in those days, which would have formed even more foundation. But we have to understand that everything has Krishna's plan in it. Krishna taking Prabhupada away just like that in a short period. And then that movement had to go through some difficulties. But the reality is that because of that during the growing phases, now our movement is becoming more and more matured, because you have got some very good leaders who have gone through the grind, gone through the gold being put to fire kind of a process, So anyone else would like to take over from here? A nice thing that is coming up.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you read?
Who is trying to do? Shivam Prabhu?
Ji, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, please carry on. One
Yeah, I
more
don't
page you'll
have
read.
Yeah, I don't have book actually. Can you please highlight?
You can read from the when on the screen, Prabhu, as the weather became
Yes.
more pleasant.
As the weather became more pleasant, in the early evenings, Prabhupada began sitting on his building's roof. Satswarupa would bring up Prabhupada's bolster pillow and a mattress so he could sit comfortably and speak with guests, or if no one came, sit and chant japa as the sky darkened. Prabhupada's apartment was in the middle of the tenement buildings, so he could hear the children playing below, and sometimes he would comment how he wished they could all become devotees. He said that he would like to propose to the tenants that they could all live on our land, rent free, if only they would become devotees, attend the temple programs, chant Hare Krishna, and follow the regulatory principles.
My God, Prabhupada is so benevolent here. Rent free in Bombay, in the temple. Imagine in Juhu. Now the whole crowd of Bombay will come if a proposal is put like that.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Please continue.
Shri Bihari Lal Khandelwal was our first supporter in the India to pledge 1 lakh rupee for any Prabhupada's project. One day his secretary phoned and gave us the news that Mr. Khandelwal's mother had passed away. We were requested to come and perform kirtan. So I organized uh, whatever devotees I could, and we went to chant and offer some words of consolation from Bhagavad Gita. Haridas, who did not know about the program, was fanning Prabhupada on the terrace above his apartment that evening. And when at 7 o'clock Prabhupada noticed that there was no sound of kirtan from the temple, he asked him to find the devotees and uh, send them to the temple for arti. Haridas soon returned and told Prabhupada that he had looked everywhere and there were no devotees around. They must have gone to the city to collect and not yet returned, he suggested. This was not my idea. They should go to the city and collect all day and night. Prabhupada said, our process is to please Krishna. They may go at 9 in the morning and return by 5 in the evening. And then chant in front of the deities. Otherwise, they will become like karmis. We are successful because we try to please Krishna, and Krishna is merciful and reciprocate with us. Otherwise, Mr. Nair was much more powerful than we. We had money, he had money, influence, his own daily newspaper. He had contacts, so many politicians and government officers. And who were we? We had no money, no influence, and no support. Yet we were successful because we were simply trying to please Krishna and following the regulatory principles of devotional service by Krishna's grace. So we should come and sign and dance in front of the deities and please them. And by their grace, we will get all the success. We are not successful by our own strength. We are successful by Krishna's grace. In the morning, Prabhupada asked where all the devotees had been the night before, and we explained that Mr. Khandelwal had invited us to perform kirtan after the death of his mother. Well, Prabhupada said, then that's all right.
So see how Prabhupada is giving us instructions both ways so nicely. Huh? So this is something which is very important. Prabhupada is emphasizing this, that even after the fight is over, there is a tendency to think that, oh yes, because of our bhakti, Krishna decided to support us in this fight with the Nair. So we are something important. Like that, we can start boasting ourselves, feeling good about ourselves, etc. But always Prabhupada is reminding us. Always Prabhupada is reminding us that we are not powerful by our own strength, but we are powerful only by Krishna's grace. So this is one thing which we should keep in mind. Anything and everything that may happen in our life is nothing but a result of Krishna's mercy. Whatever we are, it's just nothing but Krishna and Guru's mercy. Thank you so much, Prabhu Mataji. We'll stop here. We can continue in our next session from this same page. Is it which page number, Prabhu? 269. Huh? What is that? 270. Okay. 270. Page number 270, middle of the paragraph onwards. That about George Harrison. Do that.
Prabhuji, just one question, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Prabhupada mentioned like otherwise they will become like karmis. So could you please explain more about this actually?
Otherwise, they will become like karmis. He is telling about whom? About those who are not doing their service already. They are just going out for collecting. That is, can you go back to that line again?
Yeah. Just
See, our process to please Krishna, they may go at 9 in the morning and return by 5 in the evening. Come down, Prabhu. And then chant in front of the deities. Otherwise, we will become like karmis. Yes, because many times Prabhupada has warned, even while the case and all was going on, the devotee should not stay away from the temple too much, especially those who are in the service of the temple. They stay in the temple complex so that always their services should be connected with whatever is happening in the temple, like Mangalarti, Darshanarti, deity that sing, then Rajbhog, preaching, kirtans, everything will be connected to the temple, right? So if we don't do that, we stay in the temple for the namesake, but we go out for collecting Lakshmi, this, that, and all, then we become karmis. We will only be running around for Lakshmi, and we will not do any seva for Krishna, physical, personal seva for Krishna. That is a dangerous proposition. And that is why Prabhupada said, like, our preaching will stop. You will be thinking only with Lakshmi, anything can be done. Without Lakshmi, how things will work. If Lakshmi is not there, we will just make humble offering. What is the problem? No, we say, no, we cannot reduce the standard of thing. Then what we do? We go out and collect from different people. Then our expectation in other people grows. Our dependence on Krishna reduces and our dependence on others become more. That is when we become like karmis, means fruity mentality. We do everything with a fruity mentality. If somebody comes to the temple, we think instead of giving them something, some Krishna Prasad, some mercy from Krishna, they are coming all the way to the temple to take darshan of Krishna. Instead of giving them some Krishna Prasadam, what we will do? Oh, this person has come, how much you can collect from him? How much this person can offer for the temple seva? Like this, it will happen. So our life will become full of expectations. Anybody who comes will think them as somebody who should give Lakshmi. And that destroys the entire fabric of Karunayaha Purana Krishna. So Bhagavatam mood is completely gone. On the other hand, if we simply focus on giving Krishna to everyone, then Krishna will ensure that people on their own, they will give the Lakshmi. The Lakshmi that comes on its own will go a long way. Lakshmi which we try to get from others by asking, by squeezing, whatever, that will not come a long way. That will be spent in no time. So it is very, very important to understand this subtle connection.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Nice question, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for catching that. Anyone else? Nice realizations, comments, questions? Okay, we'll stop here, Prabhu's Mataji's, and then Wednesday we will do Narad Muni and Thursday we will do again Prabhupada Smaranam. Thank you again. Tomorrow we will not connect. Tuesday we will connect. Jai Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanade, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari.